Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Salam Media. I'm your host, Takir Dawood. It is now 10 to 1. We've got 10 minutes left on the show. And in this final segment of the show, we're going to be chatting to our football analyst and quite an esteemed journalist, Lenn Moleko. That's going to be telling us all a bit about the European Super League. It took 3 years to put together and unraveled in about 48 hours when it came to none. That is just the football side of it. The political side of it is that the British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has obviously used this as a political tool to get the public back on his side after not having such a successful, let's say, year and a half with regards to COVID-19 and his approach in dealing with it. Could have lost quite a big following of his. However, has he won over the hearts of the football supporters? And will this benefit his campaign? Going forward. So there's quite a lot of aspects to look at this. And just another pointer, we do know that the chairman of the Super League, he's also the president of Real Madrid, has said that the clubs that have withdrawn will be facing a 300 million rand fine. Quite interesting. But that's enough from me. We're going to leave it down to Lenn to tell us all about this. Good afternoon, Lenn. Thanks for joining me on a beautiful Saturday afternoon just before some interesting football games kick off.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure to be on the show. It's the Super League. Very interesting what went down. Started on Sunday, the announcement was made. On Monday, there was a big uproar that happened. And subsequent to that, teams started slowly falling away. And it was mainly the English teams that actually went out of it because there was pressure from the fans, there was pressure from the government, as you mentioned earlier on, and without them, there was not going to be a Super League that was going to happen. However, the interesting thing about it is the formation of the Super League came about because teams noticed that they do have power in terms of following and the fans and just how we consume football. And they decided that we don't need a middleman, and the middleman being UEFA or their respective FAs. We can get this money because the Super League is promising that we're going to get double what we get in the Champions League and quadruple what we get when we play in our respective leagues. So why should we not do it? And what a lot of people don't understand is this was more of a business decision than it was a footballing decision. And at the end of the day, football has become a business, and hence the owners and Florentino Perez, like you mentioned, decided that we're going to go about this the business way, and football will just be whatever happens at the end of the day. So that's roughly the gist of it. And unfortunately, a big uproar came about. The fans were not happy. The governments were not happy. And we are where we are now. But it is not the end of the Super League as we know it. It's just a break, because I think the powers that be have invested a lot of money, and they will do everything possible to make sure that this Super League happens.
And you said that they want to make sure that it happens, but with the Super League happening, what are the repercussions on the players and obviously the management staff? Because we did see that FIFA decided to step in and obviously held some large, made some large decisions and have some large expectations from the teams that will be participating in the Super League.
Look, like I said, it's a case of FIFA and UEFA crying foul, because if you look at it, this is a cake that is being baked by the teams, and UEFA and FIFA are not going to have a piece of that cake. So that is roughly and largely why they're fighting that the Super League should not happen. And will it happen again? FIFA coming in. I heard the FIFA president Gianni Infantino speaking during a UEFA briefing that they had. I think it was on Tuesday. His words were not very convincing, and he's the very same person who has come to Africa and also proposed a Super League for CAF. And we know how he's gone about ensuring that Patrice Motsepe becomes president and took all his competitors and gave them positions on the CAF with vice presidencies and so forth. So is it something that's always been there? Of course it has been. I mean, we look at Rummenigge, the Bayern Munich head, the president. He was one of the founding fathers of the Super League. But because of the owning model, the 50+1 that Germany has, the fans were not for the Super League. And that is why you do not find any German teams there. And you look at PSG saying they're not going to be in the Super League. My theory with that is the next World Cup is happening in Qatar. Qatar is a big sponsor of PSG. And FIFA is involved, and there's been so many discrepancies in how Qatar was awarded the World Cup. So you look at that, it's do not mess with the people that, or do not mess with the cow that's giving you milk kind of thing. So for PSG, I think that is what happened. And for the leagues to actually go to the extent of saying, if you play the Super League, we gonna kick you out of the league. But are you seriously gonna watch a Premier League without Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, and Chelsea? No, you're not going to do that. So I think more than anything, the government's coming in was a big shift because these teams would have had to play in different countries. Who's going to issue the visas? So governments could also step in and do that and become that element that says, okay, you want to go to Spain to go play. We're not going to give you a visa to go to Spain. So that's where I think the leagues had an upper hand on the Super League in possibly not allowing the free movement of players to go play in cities that they need to play. But however, I still think it's going to happen. And you look at all the clubs that are involved. Florentino Perez saying he's going to slap a 300 million fine on them. That is a lot of money. That is you buying Mbappe or Messi or almost Messi or Ronaldo. And can you really afford to part with that money as a club? So it's, I think more than anything, the Super League went, they did their homework, they did the legalities, and the clubs went in it because it looked lucrative. And once the government and the fans stepped in, the clubs cowered or they folded in joining the Super League. But I don't think they really thought about the repercussions of the contracts that they signed.
And Len, just quickly wrapping up with this, where does this leave football as a whole? I mean, do you see a future for something like the Champions League? Where does this leave football? Because this left quite a bitter taste in everybody's mouths. But now, moving forward, how do you bounce back after something that shook up the football world this big?
The irony about it is, you look at the Champions League, they've just recently announced, actually on the same day, they announced a new format, which, if you look at it, it's really a Super League format just with more teams. It still leaves the big teams with more advantage because in how things are going to be set up, it's going to go with the UEFA coefficient points, where the teams that are in the Super League, based on their previous Champions League performances, have better points, have better coefficient points than other teams. So they call it the Swiss model. So where does this leave football? Football will always be football. In 1992, when the Premier League left the model that they had to go to the Premier League as it is now, football was still football. 90 minutes, 11 players versus 11 players, a referee, you win by goals. If there's halftime, there's halftime. If there's full time and you guys are tired and it needs to go to a knockout, that will happen. So the only thing I'm not really sure about is the Super League happens. Is it going to go by the FIFA Fair Play model? Is there another model that's going to be adopted so that the Super League plays? Until we know those little nitty-gritties, I think we are very quick to judge on the Super League. I, for one, I am for the Super League. I am not going to lie, because you've got the top teams playing against each other, and you've got the top teams actually being able to get financial muscle. And I mean, if you want Arsenal to buy Mbappe, where are they going to get the 180 million pounds to do that? They do not have that money, because the broadcast rights that they have in the English Premier League do not allow them to do that. So I think at the point where we look at this as a business decision, because football has become business, then we will understand it. Because we are so hell-bent on looking at this as a footballing decision. It's not a footballing decision, it's a business decision, and football is a business.
No, definitely. Lenn, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. You definitely shared a lot of insight and gave us a broader perspective on the Super League and everything that went down this week. Lenn, thanks so much. Have a good weekend. You're just in time to watch Liverpool's match against Newcastle. So go have a good one.
Will do. I'm actually waiting for the Swallows versus Pirates game.
Hey, another Soweto derby. Who's going to be the winners?
The original, that's not the original anymore.
Some shots fired there, eh? But Lenn, have a good day. Thank you so much, man. Hope you have a fantastic week ahead.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
That was Lenn Moleko, our favorite football analyst at Salam Media, giving us a bit of a breakdown on what went down in the Super League. That's it from myself, Zakir Tao, this afternoon. It is 1 o'clock on the dot. I'm going to leave you guys through for the next program. Thank you so much for everybody who tuned in. If you missed out on any part of the show, you can go check it out on Salam Media's social media platforms and the podcast that's also available, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. They're all over. So make sure that you get your hands on that content. Share it, because there was some insightful information. We've chatted up first to Terence Black Panther Balalo, that told us a bit about his MMA journey. And then after that, Lenn Moleko gave us his breakdown of what he thought about the Super League. So, yep, that's it from myself, Zakir Dawood. Have a fantastic weekend ahead. For those of you fasting, there is only a few hours left. So make the most out of it. And have a fantastic weekend. 10 days, the first 10 days of Ramadan done. Another 20 to enjoy everything that this month has to offer. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa